And tonight on the Daily Wrap, bad news for Hillary Clinton as top secret emails are found on her private server. Could she face criminal charges over this? Donald Trump still dominating in the polls, but can he turn those numbers into votes? And Bernie Sanders finally beats Hillary in a primary poll. What does this mean for the nomination and the world? This is the Daily Wrap, live from New York City. And hello, everybody. I'm Joe Concha, joined by my co-host Rick Unger. Is it true you're now the president of the Ready for Biden campaign?
You know, I don't know if I'm the president. I think I have a friend over here to my right who might be in line for that job. But I definitely have come out of the closet.
Okay.
I definitely have come out for Joe Biden.
Very good. Let's meet the girl that is the president of the Ready for Biden campaign. She's also the executive founder and executive editor of the Accountability Project and the host of the Accountability Podcast. Let's see her again. There she is. Naomi Konst. She is back. And finally, it must be Wednesday because assistant online editor for Commentary Magazine, Noah Rothman, is here as well. Big smiles, everybody. Very good.
Big smiles.
Okay, let's get right to the Daily Download.
I did not email any classified material to anyone on my email. There is no classified material. So I'm certainly well aware of the classification requirements and did not send classified material.
You know, she and her team has said that it was not used for anything but unclassified work. You know, we don't undergo scans of everyone's unclassified email to make sure they're only doing unclassified work. So I don't think there was any indication she was doing anything but here.
Well, first let me say that I am confident that I never sent nor received any information that was classified at the time it was sent and received.
Oh, Hillary, those words are coming back to haunt you, the power of the SOT. It was announced yesterday that 2 of her top aides were being pulled into a federal investigation regarding her private email server, and that 2 emails on her private account have been classified as top secret, one of the security classification's highest ones, we should say, as you might expect. Congressman Trey Gowdy, chairman of the Select Committee on Benghazi, joined Fox News today to discuss Mrs. Clinton's emails.
Every explanation that Secretary Clinton has provided about a week later was proven to be demonstrably false. This is just the latest one of those assertions that there was no classified information. I saw the clip this morning. She was very definitive. She neither sent nor received classified information. Well, that is patently false. If she were interested in cooperation, she would not have done any of the things that she has done today. This was not about cooperation, and Bill, frankly, it's not about convenience. It's about control. She wanted to control access to the public record, and she almost got away with it, but she didn't.
Not pictured was Gowdy launching a champagne cork before that interview.
Exactly.
Politically, the situation continues to get worse for the former First Lady. Rick, can her political career, or at least her path to the nomination, survive this?
It depends, and a lot of it is going to turn on are being a little bit careful about this. What we don't yet know, we have been told by McClatchy, and I believe they're reporting, that 2 of the documents at least were top secret documents. What we don't know is if they were marked top secret at the time, which would put her into a David Petraeus situation, or if they were classified after. That has not been made clear. It makes a very big difference which it is, because the first would be a criminal offense. The second would certainly not be. Obviously, it's going to hurt her politically until the time comes when she can take the offensive and say, look, now that it's all flushed out, yes, these were classified after, and then we can all argue about whether or not the administration did that to protect her, you know, or if it was correct. But if it does turn out that they were marked top secret, and she sent them anyhow, she's got a very big problem.
No, I kind of think that if something is top secret and it's that sensitive, it's going to be marked that way from the beginning.
Not always.
Not always, though, really.
But that is what the IGs say.
Well, we're not clear on that. I've been trying to pin that down.
The 2 IGs in the letter say that these were marked at the time as classified.
They do say that.
Yes,
That's what you said.
That is the allegation from these 2 IGs.
And they said there might be hundreds of them.
They said there might be a lot of them. And these are individuals who are, they want to have a career after government. They want to work in high-profile law firms in the Beltway, and they're jeopardizing their career by doing this, saying, we just cannot cover this up. These are 2 distinct systems, unclassified and classified. They do not meet. In order to get one information from one to the other, you have to use a separate piece of hardware in order to do that. You have to be very deliberative. in order to do that. This is something that goes towards intent. I think there's no way around intent at this point, which is to get Hillary Clinton's sensitive information to the point of actual imagery that we don't know whether it was taken from aerial or satellite or on the ground, but it's sensitive imagery, and that's something that a foreign intelligence service would be very interested in.
If that's correct, and I got to say, I may disagree with Noah a lot because he's wrong, but he's a good reporter, so I'm going to assume that he's right about this. It's a very big deal. You're right. It's a matter of the intent, and the intent would appear to be there. I don't know how she can possibly recover from that. People may not care, but if she's indicted, and if she's not indicted, I'm going to have a problem with that if this is the case, because it's wrong. We're picking and choosing who we indict.
Nomi, let's talk about the political aspect of this. Does this push Joe Biden even closer to running just because she looks so vulnerable now, or might not even be around to accept the nomination?
I mean, you would have to be a fool politically to not see this as an opportunity for Joe Biden to step in. And I think that he is seriously considering jumping in, especially seeing the polls and how Bernie Sanders is winning in New Hampshire now, and he's moving up in the poll in Iowa. And this is a man who doesn't really have a ground operation. He does not have the strength that Hillary has. Hillary is doing everything she can do politically right in terms of even her messaging. Like, she's actually doing the right thing given the situation. Just the problem is, before she ran. No, I mean, even if she were to go on the record and answer these questions, it's going to be spun. She's going to say the wrong thing. The 2 interviews that we have of her talking about these emails, she's messed up. And so Joe Biden sees an extraordinary opportunity to distance himself from Hillary, because the reality is anybody who was working with the administration and the State Department at the time knows there was a lot of friction between the two of them.
Here's the good news. The good news is quickly that there's an investigation happening by the Department of Justice, the FBI, because Trey Gowdy was completely full of it in what he just said and what we played. And I don't want to rely on an investigation from somebody who is so partisan and so biased. I want the FBI doing it. I'd like to believe they're objective.
But that is the problem here. There's a lot of political ineptitude that you can say on Hillary Clinton's part. All that the Benghazi committee wanted was for her to turn over her server to an independent third party.
And
she could have done that at any point.
And now she's deleted a lot of them.
Let's talk about that server. There are varying reports about what is currently on said server. We've heard it was wiped clean, and we've also heard that half the emails are still on it. What's going on? To discuss the server itself, we bring back to the program cybersecurity expert Eric Knight. He is the president, of Simple WAN, Wide Area Networks. Eric, is it still possible that the deleted emails on Clinton's server can be retrieved?
Yeah, of course. It's been a while. When you're talking about technology, that server supposedly stopped being used almost a year ago, but if it still exists, there's still a possibility to be able to get that data off of it.
But Eric, doesn't it depend on whether or not it was professionally wiped, in which I understand if that's the case, it's probably gone. And then a second question quickly, the thumb drive that we keep hearing was in the possession of Clinton's attorney, David Kendall, which has also been turned over. Do you have any sense of what's on that thumb drive? Is it everything or just some of it?
First, I mean, let's hope that, a government-grade server, more or less, would be wiped properly and the drives were properly destroyed. And if it's not, that's almost as concerning as the whole situation at hand. So if that does exist, they'll be able to get something off of it. But if it was done properly, then no, there'll be nothing to find. And as far as the thumb drive, you go back. It just depends on size. Emails, especially image emails, take up a lot of space. So I'm doubtful that it's going to contain everything.
Wow, Eric. Here's the thing, though. If she wiped the whole thing clean and knew there was top secret information on there, I know you're more the technical guy than anything else, but just as a citizen, when you hear this, isn't that just wrong in itself? I mean, even if we can't prove that there are other emails on there that may be top secret, just the fact that she did that and we're finding top secret emails now.
Could be worse than just
that could be worse than.
Could be worse. If there was a crime committed and she erased the evidence, that's another issue.
That's true. Eric, last word, we got about 30 seconds.
Yeah, that would come down, to weigh into that would be almost like a cover-up, more or less. I mean, that data should not be deleted. It should have been there in the first place, but it certainly, once it was, okay, hey, that's bad, it shouldn't have been, deleted before it was archived.
Okay. Eric, thanks so much for joining us by phone. We appreciate it from Phoenix. Hopefully it's not raining there anymore. We heard it's been a monsoon lately, and we appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Okay. So what do you make of these new top secret emails found on Hillary Clinton's server? Go to newsmaxtv.com/comments. Don't hang up. We're still here. Go to newsmaxtv.com/comments. It's right there below. And let us know. Coming up next, could and should Hillary Clinton face criminal charges for this? This is The Daily Rat.
And welcome back. According to a new Monmouth University poll released today, more than 1/2 of American voters support a criminal investigation into former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's use of a personal email service for State Department business. When dividing responses along party lines, 82% of Republicans support such an investigation, as do 56% of independent voters. 66% of Democrats, however, oppose such a move. So the question remains, did Hillary Clinton do anything criminal? To help us answer that question, let's bring in former U.S. Attorney from Iowa, Matthew G. Whitaker. Now, Matthew is the Executive Director now of the Foundation for Accountability and Civic Trust, a nonpartisan ethics watchdog group. Welcome, Matthew.
Hey, good evening. Glad I'm to be here.
So listen, let me set it up with this first question, and it revolves around the possibility that Mrs. Clinton's may have used her personal email to communicate classified information. Is that in and of itself a criminal act?
Well, it's the handling of the classified information that could rise to a criminal level. There's been, at least in the last year or two, there's been at least 2 cases where members of the Navy have been prosecuted, convicted, and sentenced for mishandling classified information. And it should be noted, I mean, she mishandled and had at her house on a private server the highest level of secret information, which is special compartmentalized information, SCI, which I think even rises to a new level of top secret.
Matthew, I'm sorry,
No, go
it's
ahead.
Joe Concha. We were talking about this before. She may have wiped the whole server clean. Is that a criminal act in itself if she knew those emails were top secret on there?
Right. It goes back to the handling of classified information. There's very specific statutes, some of them criminal, that say, you know, essentially how that's supposed to. My recollection when I had top secret clearance that the SCI information could only be handled in a SCIF, which is a protected location, and if you removed it from the SCIF, that was a criminal violation. So I mean, there's some very interesting facts at play right now that this information is getting out.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's actually my question. Noah Rothman here. My understanding is that Attorney David Kendall had the thumb drive in his possession, and it was deemed secure. And then the State Department presumably came in and dubbed the area in which it was a temporary SCIF, a special information facility. So it's temporarily secured. But it wasn't beforehand, at least not until the State Department came in. So at what point is David Kendall violating the terms of his ethics and possibly even inviting disbarment?
Right. That is one of the many questions. I don't know how you can set up a temporary SCIF, because in my experience, SCIFs were had significant insulation in the walls, had the sound ability to reduce. I mean, it's a big deal, and so you just can't turn any lawyer's office into a SCIF. That being said, I mean, the relaying of that information from the former Secretary of State to a private citizen who did not have clearance in and of itself could be a violation. And again, I mean, there have been many people that have been prosecuted for much less than what it appears to have gone on here.
So Matthew, we got to close up here. Really do appreciate it. I'm sure we're going to want to bring you on some more to discuss this, because I have a funny feeling it's not going away. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree, and I would be happy to join whenever you'll have me.
That'd be great. Matthew Whitaker, thanks so much for joining us this evening. Guys, quickly, does this end up in an indictment, Joe?
Yes.
Her aides, definitely. At least one of them is going to be indicted.
Yeah, I think somebody gets an indictment. I'm not sure who, though.
I don't know. I think it might end up in indictment. What do you mean? You think it could be her aides?
I think he's probably correct.
Well, now that raises a question. Let's say that there's no indictment for Hillary Clinton, but one or both of the 2 aides that have been, I don't know if implicated is the right word, but being investigated as part of this, Cheryl Mills and Huma Abedin. Let's say one of them gets indicted. Is that the ending of Hillary's political career? Because everybody's going to be saying they took the bullet for their boss?
I think that, just the question of indictment is, I mean, listen, we're just talking about it and she's dropping in polls. The longer this plays out, the second she has to go and testify over the Benghazi hearing, that's just bad press. Every single day she has bad press is a day that she drops in the polls, and that I think she's going to end up dropping out of the race.
Joe, what do you think?
If she's losing to Bernie Sanders in New Hampshire now, just wait till these indictments start coming.
Yeah,
then I don't see how she recovers.
This may turn, everything around for Joe Biden. Because where previously Joe Biden may be making a political decision, a family decision, all the things somebody thinks about when they decide if they want to run for president, he may now be in the position where the Democratic Party comes to him and says, you've got to run.
Yeah.
We have nobody else.
Not Martin
You have
O'Malley.
to
And
run.
he says,
Right.
I am here reluctantly, as a reluctant warrior, to save my party and to save this country. I'm the only guy
Yeah.
who can do it. And
I-
people rally around that
It's an
because he's
amazing
likable.
message.
So Noah, then the question is, how much longer can this go on? I mean, is it going to take Hillary losing Iowa, which she's now leading, by the way, in by double digits, and New Hampshire, or does she keep going even if there's an indictment, let's say?
The only person who can stop Hillary Clinton is Hillary Clinton. For the last 4 years, the Democratic Party has cleared the field. They have created the conditions where she has a monopoly on the organizational process in every one of the early states. There is no way to stop the Clinton machine unless she stops it for them, or it's stopped by the Justice Department, which has gone out of its way to say Hillary Clinton's not a subject of this investigation, just her behavior, which has led to all these cascading series of events, are subject to an
They're
investigation.
not going to show their hand either.
No, exactly not. They wouldn't. Why would they? So there's no reason why this would stop.
Can any of you remember a time, ever, when the front runner of the Democratic Party and the front runner of the Republican Party were so suspect as candidates, where the conversations on the Republican side are, yeah, wow, it's amazing this guy's leading, but he can't really get the nomination. And the front runner for the Democrats is, well, she may end up in jail, not the White House.
Right.
I can't remember anything like this.
I'm not
like-
sure we could equate
1872.
Right.
1872, really?
1872, those are the
Damn.
candidates real quick.
I don't even
All
remember.
right, you're out of
that
time.
was the corrupt,
You're out of time.
deal.
Yeah,
whatever.
Trump's done nothing corrupt. Let's be very clear, Munger.
So do you guys think Hillary Clinton will face criminal charges over her private email server? And should she? Let us know at newsmaxtv.com/comments. Coming up, Donald Trump has the poll numbers, but can he turn them into votes?
Until 3 months ago, I was a world-class businessman. I built a great company, some of the most iconic assets in the world, 10 billion of net worth, more than 10 billion of net worth, and frankly, I had a great time doing it, and I wouldn't mind continuing, except I see the country going so badly. And the only reason I even mention that now is that's the kind of thinking, whether it's good or bad or whatever it is, but that's the kind of thinking that the country needs. We owe $19 trillion, going up rapidly. We have a country that's in collapse. We're going to have a problem like you've never seen. Once we get over that $22 trillion mark, we're going to have a problem. And I'm really good at that stuff. And I know my competition, and they're not good at it. They wouldn't have a clue.
That was Donald Trump on Sean Hannity's show last night, and as the latest post-debate poll shows, it seems as though many Americans agree with the GOP frontrunner. The latest CNN ORC poll finds Iowa caucus voters shows that Donald is leading with 22% of the vote. Ben Carson jumping to 14%. Good debate performance, particularly the last part of it, certainly. Scott Walker, 9%. Remember, he was the frontrunner there at one point. If he doesn't win Iowa, it's lights out for Mr. Walker. Ted Cruz also off a strong debate performance, 9%. Carly Fiorina jumping into the big boy chair with number 5. And then finally we see Mike Huckabee, she's tied with at 7. Jeb Bush all the way down to 5%. Rand Paul, same deal. Marco Rubio, 5%. All others below that threshold. So Trump is seen by GOP caucus voters as the candidate who will change the way things work in Washington. They also think he'll be able to handle the immigration problem and improve the economy. He is also seen as the most electable candidate in a general election. So, do you agree with that assessment, Unger? You're smirking.
Well,
like
I
a
was
Cheshire
watching.
cat.
I was watching the video, and is it just me, or does he look more and more like he's wearing a Davy Crockett or Daniel Boone hat every
The
time we
hair
see him?
jokes. We've seen the hair for
I
years.
just look at it going, man, that's getting there. I don't know what to say about this anymore. I honestly don't. I'm running out
Appreciate your
of
candor.
dialogue.
No more material.
I know. I'm
Jeb
running out of
Bush,
dialogue.
so low on the list.
Well, that's not shocking.
Marco Rubio.
That's not shocking. Jeb Bush was never going to show up well in Iowa. I got to tell you, what's interesting to me, I'm just going to cross sides for a minute, is that Hillary is. People forget in 2008, Hillary wasn't even going to enter the Iowa primary because
right.
she thought she'd do so poorly there. People
And
tend
she
to
lost
go.
anyway.
Yeah, she did.
She came in third, actually.
Yeah, people tend to go to some extremes in Iowa. They do. Donald Trump is not going to be the nominee of the Republicans. I don't know how else to say it. I enjoy what he's doing. Thank goodness he's made August worth living for all of us who do this. I'm
What's going to happen?
I'm even impressed with some of the things he's saying lately. But you know,
but every time we try to analyze this,
I know. But I'll tell you what,
every pundit's been wrong.
I know, and I'm very careful because I've been wrong.
Yeah, I
but I'll tell you what I am
tentativeness
seeing.
in your voice.
I am seeing something though. You're starting to see a bit of a turn. He slipped a little bit in the Iowa poll. Nothing dramatic. He's still leading. But you look at his unfavorables. Oh, and you look at the question that was asked after. I think I'm trying to remember which state it was. It might have been national, as to whether or not they believe he can be elected, and that number's turning against him.
Noah?
So.
Yeah, below the top lines, when you get to the issues, Donald Trump dominates every other aspect in that poll, which is very much he's a blank slate upon which you project your dreams.
Right.
He has substance to him, so you impart substance to him. But there was one area where he did not do especially well that I found shocking, and that was on the issue of abortion. He was down in the single digits. Every other issue, he's in the 20s
He was
and the
supportive
30s.
of Planned Parenthood. That's why.
Huckabee
It doesn't
and
matter
Carson
anymore.
were up there for Iowa conservative
No,
voters.
it's still it's still
absolutely
at
does matter.
2% when they polled it 2 weeks ago. It came in at 2%. So Iowa voters, even if they are more conservative, for some reason they're not voting on abortion. They're voting on economy. Which is why I think he's doing so well, because who else represents, except for Carly Fiorina, the capitalist
I would say just
mindset
about
all of them want?
them. I mean, if you look at the amount of voters who are split on that, you have about 5 or 6 candidates who are electable candidates, and they all pull about 3
Great on the
to
economy.
5%.
The good news for Trump
and then you have
is
the protest candidates.
we
who
all
do
know
well.
ultimately everybody votes on the economy.
Yeah, right.
Everybody
Right.
votes
Exactly.
their pocketbook. So that probably is helping him.
What's more important to win, Iowa or New Hampshire? I would argue
For
New
Donald?
Hampshire.
I don't know
anybody.
that one is or the other.
In the modern era, it's been New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Prior to the
Not
to the
Hillary.
2000s, it's been Iowa.
Right, because Santorum won it in 2012. And before that, Huckabee, I believe, won it in 2008. You could go back and back in open elections.
New Hampshire has a slightly better record of picking the ultimate winner, but that doesn't necessarily make it more important. I mean, it doesn't get important to
2000,
me.
McCain won New Hampshire.
Yeah, he did. It gets important to me on Super Tuesday.
Right.
When you pull in
Right.
all those southern states and everybody else, now you're looking at a picture that's telling you something.
Okay.
Before the last cycle, South Carolina picked the winner.
That's
every time.
right. Until the last cycle.
the
That's
last
right.
Okay, so Lindsey Graham is your next
Demographics.
president.
No,
Congratulations.
He's not
Lindsey
going to
Graham.
win it.
Anyway, the cap that Donald Trump has been wearing at campaign stops with his Make America Great Again slogan has become a sensation. In fact, sales of the Trump cap are now off the charts. You can look it up. And now you can get your very own Make America Great Again cap, a $25 value, free with this special offer. Just pay shipping and handling. Just go to newsmax.com/TrumpCap. That is newsmax.com/TrumpCap. You see it on your screen, or call 1-800-485-4350. Coming up next, Bernie Sanders beat Hillary Clinton in a New Hampshire primary poll. Not this dead heat. He's within so many points. Can he win the nomination, however? Stay tuned.
And welcome back. Well, it's finally happened. According to a new poll out today, Bernie Sanders has overtaken Hillary Clinton by a margin of 44 to 37% among Democratic primary voters in New Hampshire. The new Franklin Pierce University Boston Herald poll finds that the Vermont senator is leading the field of Democratic candidates for the first time by 7 points as Mrs. Clinton falls to second place. Now, coming in third place with 9% of the vote, despite not even being a candidate, is Vice President Joe Biden. The other candidates, former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley, former Rhode Island Governor Lincoln Chafee, and former Virginia Governor Jim Webb, each only managed to grab 1% of the vote or less. Now, the poll also notes that Senator Sanders' favorability rating is considerably higher than Mrs. Clinton's, 54 to 36%. However, according to New Hampshire Democrats, Hillary is still the most likely candidate to win the Democratic nomination with 65% of the vote versus Sanders' 11%. So, Bernie Sanders now leads in New Hampshire with favorability ratings far higher than Hillary Clinton's, and he's drawing massive crowds everywhere he goes. But when it's all said and done, Joe, Will Hillary still get the nomination?
No, and not because of Bernie Sanders, but because of the aforementioned Joe Biden. As we talked about before, all those polls that we're reading are before that news that broke
Right.
today. I want to see the polls that come out after this, and then if there's indictments and so on and so forth. That changes the whole ballgame. So we're kind of talking in the past at this
No,
point.
Joe makes a great point. I mean, at this point in time, Hillary's not really running against Bernie Sanders. She's running against the potential of a criminal indictment.
Yeah.
That is who her opponent is now.
There was an NPR reporter today, excuse me for not getting the right name, but she said the emails that ate the campaign. I loved that. Because that's essentially what's happening here is she's fighting against every story that comes out against her. And how do you run a campaign that way? You're not getting your message out. You're either staying silent or responding to allegations. You know, you can't survive a campaign no matter how much groundwork you do on house parties.
Well, but you know how you may survive a campaign? When you see that figure that says that 66% of Democrats don't want an investigation.
Well, 50% also want Joe Biden to run. Let me just put that in there.
That's what I find really important here that you can't just gloss over necessarily. No. I don't think that this email scandal is really having as much of an effect on her numbers on the Democratic side of things as it is on the independent side of things and the Republican side of things. And I believe independents vote in New Hampshire and Democratic primary. They do in the Republican primary. So that matters in New Hampshire. I don't know if Hillary Clinton can, or certainly Bernie Sanders can keep the Obama coalition together. I've written that Joe Biden probably can. He's probably better positioned to do that. But I don't necessarily think that Bernie Sanders voters bolt all of a sudden over to Joe Biden's camp. This is the Donald Trump wing of the Democratic Party. These guys are disaffected, they are angry, they are frustrated, they want to see the country move much farther left than even Barack Obama's directed the country. And Joe Biden isn't going to be the instrument of that kind of change.
I have to disagree with you on that. When you start to look at who's supporting Bernie Sanders, there is a lot of the people who have been part of the Democratic Party who don't trust Hillary. I mean, listen, if Joe Biden weren't an option here, I would be supporting Bernie Sanders. You know, there's a lot of people that were part of the Obama campaign.
I got to interrupt you.
Yeah.
He is a socialist, or he says he is a socialist. And does that mean that you want a socialist United States?
You can't jump to major conclusions
but that's the question that hasn't been asked that probably should be asked.
I mean,
and isn't maybe the right answer that Bernie Sanders isn't really a classic socialist?
I don't think he's a classic socialist. I think that he's talking about issues that Democrats have been wanting to talk about, that a lot of Obama supporters wanted to bring up during the last 8 years, but because we had so many other issues, they weren't able to discuss income inequality because we were just trying to get out of a recession.
But it is a complete dead end, right, Joe, when it comes to a general election. You only need one campaign commercial. This man has called himself a socialist since he began his political career. I, the Republican, didn't say it. He said it.
Right. I already have John Kasich's.
Election's over.
I already have his bumper sticker.
You can have anybody's bumper sticker.
The bumper sticker says, "At least I'm not a socialist." Boom.
There you go.
I win. That's the end of it.
But Noah points something out that I do find interesting. In the case of Trump, the media is reacting to what's happening.
Right.
In the case of Hillary, the media is projecting.
Right.
And there's a big difference there.
I find it remarkable that we say, Donald Trump is substanceless and empty, and that's fair. But we also say that, Bernie Sanders is totally, genuine and down the line and has real issues, and he's tapping into a vein of actual anger and frustration at certain direct issues, particularly campaign finance and healthcare and the like. But we don't talk about his policy positions in the press. We talk about the size of his crowds. We talk about the energy
about his history
of his movement. And we
will
don't talk
come
about
to
the fact that he
debates.
was a non-entity in the upper chamber until about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We refuse to talk about the issues that I think matter to Bernie Sanders because we're dismissing his campaign. And if we did, it wouldn't reflect especially well on the people who are supporting him.
Boy, that's so
But
true.
I don't think we're dismissing it because there are real supporters there that are part of the Democratic institution that just don't support Hillary.
I'd love to talk about Bernie Sanders' policy prescriptions.
Rick, all we heard about, and Noah's exactly right, every headline you saw yesterday was 27,000 in Los Angeles for Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, no,
Not
that's
a
it.
thing about what was said in the
That's
speech.
Exactly right. Well, what do you think? Can Bernie Sanders actually beat Hillary Clinton? And should Bernie Sanders beat Hillary Clinton? Go to newsmaxtv.com/comments to let us know. Coming up next, it's that time we read some of your viewer comments. Don't go anywhere.
And welcome back to Daily Wrap. Let's check in with the venerable Steve Malzberg and see what he has planned for this evening. Stevie!
Well, Joe, Hillary finally hands over that scrubbed-down server. What will they find on it? Pat Buchanan will be here to talk about that and also about his peace taking down the Donald. We'll also have Brent Bozell, the Malzberg panel, and a lot more. It's all next, so keep it where it is right after the Daily Wrap.
And we will. So, all right, let's read some of your viewer comments. First up, Andrew says, I think Donald Trump is on the right path and the man for the White House. He is aggressive, knows the issues, and has the backbone to back it up, which is what America needs. A good, strong leader. One exclamation point.
And CN says, I feel a vote for Trump ensures Hillary isn't elected. If Trump doesn't get the GOP bid and goes independent, that would split the vote and Hillary would be elected. I don't agree with his colorful comments, but I have to vote to defeat her.
And Patty says, Megyn Kelly has a chip on her shoulder, and I will no longer watch her show. It was a hideous question that had no who, what, or where. On that alone, I gave her an F in her supposed profession and question. Know-it-alls like Megyn should get another job. I watch Newsmax thanks to her.
We like hearing that. Randy says, new viewer to your station. Attaboy, Randy. And I say, thumbs up. I'm a convert, so keep up the good work. Thanks from California. We'll try, Randy.
And Deborah says, I used to watch Fox, but since the treatment of Donald Trump, I no longer watch them and now watch Newsmax TV. The media and the GOP should be helping Donald Trump to get elected and not push him out. We, the electorate, will not tolerate it any longer. I don't think they should be helping.
Boy, we are popular. And Nancy says, I have found a new news program. I have grown disappointed with Fox News lately. I'm a Trump fan and sick of Fox bashing him and his supporters. Thank you. Thank you, Nancy.
And let us reiterate once again, we are not cherry picking these things at all. These are the comments that we're receiving in droves. Finally, Richard says, I have switched to Newsmax for my unbiased news. I am staunchly behind Ben Carson, but I am for debate, not spin. If anyone was to call out Mr. Trump, it should have been the candidates. The moderates made the debate about themselves. So take note. Rick.
And Rick says, just watch Daily Wrap. Unger is right. Boy, there's something you don't hear every day. I was a loyal Foxer until the fake debate. Haven't watched them since. I'm a new Newsmax viewer from now on.
All right. And Pat says, quit watching Fox because they're not fair and balanced after what they did to Trump. Started watching Newsmax. Keep up the good work. Great show. Thank you, Rick. Keep it going.
Jay says, Jonathan Gilliam was so right on his final statement regarding Fox. I was an avid viewer, but am now 100% watching Newsmax. We're supposed to discuss now, but I don't know what to say. That's so nice. All these people saying this.
I'm feeling nervous.
Should we send Roger Ailes a thank you note? What do you think?
Roger or Megyn or somebody.
Boy.
But certainly there has been a backlash, no question. If you look at Megyn Kelly's social media accounts, apparently has lost thousands of Facebook followers. Social media, obviously, the Twitter sphere is always a swamp, but it's been particularly nasty towards her. Noah, you worked at Mediaite along with me at one point. Do you think the questions were fair or were they out of bounds?
I think that the criticism of the debate moderators as having talked too much and made it possibly about them is not invalid because objectively that's true. They talk the majority of the time, more so than any of the other
31% of the time is
exactly. Whether or not that question was fair, I don't think that's a fair criticism. I think that people are getting emotional and frustrated with how Donald Trump is behaving and how he's being received as a result of his own behavior. That the woman who said, or whoever said that the question didn't contain a who, a what, or where, it contained all those things. It was perfectly pertinent. This is the kind of stuff that presidential candidates get asked. If you can't handle the heat, get out of the kitchen.
Exactly. And when you have candidates on stage, each of them have different weak points. And Megyn Kelly and Chris Wallace and Bret Baier all targeted each of their weak points. Some have bigger weak points than others. Jeb Bush was Common Core.
But were any questions about policy with Trump? I think that is what the backlash is coming from, that they were all personal comments about him and not so much about and the questions were very fair.
Women is a policy.
The one question where we're talking about, which was about how he's treated women, was the question we're asking. All of them were policy.
But that is a policy. I think that that's a huge area of policy.
The way it was put out there took it somewhere else. But I do want to say this as a young guy who's had a few years in the television business. You know, this is frankly the sort of thing that puts networks up on their feet. And it's important that people know, you know, we understand that we are getting an influx of viewers because of this situation. A, that we're appreciative, and B, that we really do take the responsibility seriously. And for that reason, by the way, I'm going to apologize for my Trump hair crack, because that wasn't serious analysis. I take it back. I won't do it again. But we do. I mean, you do feel that responsibility when people start coming to you for more objective coverage.
Absolutely.
And we got to give it to them.
All right, very good. Well, we have one more. Oh, look at that. Jason says, Concha asked, that's me, can Bernie Sanders give Hillary a run for her money? In a world where Sanders is a snowball and the Dem pledge delegates are superdelegates, are hell, Bernie's challenge to HRC would be and will succumb to the same slushy demise suggested by the aforementioned metaphor. Democratic National Committee officers and leaders watch the polls, count the beans, and steer the car, and Bernie doesn't poll well outside of a couple New England states. That's true, and that's about all the time we have, unfortunately. More Daily Wrap in a moment. Yay or nay time. It's happy time, people. It's time for yay or nay. First up, we all know Kentucky Senator Rand Paul is running for president, but did you also know he is running for re-election in the Senate as well? Apparently, Mr. Paul announced his plans to run again back in December as part of an effort to ensure his Senate seat in the event he does not win the White House in 2016. While his campaign is struggling with fundraising efforts and overall staff morale dropping, this might have been a good idea. Only problem is there's a Kentucky law that prohibits candidates' names from appearing on a ballot twice, applying for 2 jobs at the same time. And do you think Rand Paul's ever dated 2 women at the same time? Rick Unger.
I don't want to answer that.
Very good. Naomi, let's move it on to you. You've dated 2 men at once, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm dating like 9 right now.
Good for
Don't
you.
tell my boyfriend.
Right.
I'm more interested in the fact that I just learned he had a hairpiece. Why would you choose that hairpiece?
does?
Really?
Yes. Yes, an
That's
insider
big
told me.
news.
Why
You
would
look
he
at him,
choose
No one's
that?
spoken
take that
about
hairpiece
this.
off, and he's his father.
Didn't we just say we're keeping hair out of the
Which is
conversation?
fascinating.
Right.
Fascinating. Bad hair.
Then you can share your Scott Walker story
Oh, yeah,
next
that's
time
another
that,
story.
you're on. Anyway, no, I mean, running for the Senate and the presidency, bad idea.
I
good
thought
idea.
this was resolved. Rand Paul was lobbying his state to change it from a primary to a caucus, and that would prevent him from violating any Kentucky laws. I'm surprised. I was under the impression that this was resolved.
Okay.
So, question mark.
Question mark.
about
Very
people.
good. Different kind of answer. Okay, so China devalued their currency earlier this week. This move is supposed to boost China's economy, but many are worried this could start a global currency war as the country trades with practically everyone. China has been accused of doing this many times before in the past decade. Are they doing this on purpose? Yay or nay, Unger?
They're clearly doing it on purpose. That's not an issue. But I have to tell you, I think you're going to find that it's a much bigger problem for China than it's going to turn out to be for us. And that's why the market bounced back today after being down hundreds of points.
Okay, good point. I was about to say, aren't the economies intertwined, but perhaps not.
I think it makes a good point. I don't know what else to say to that. I'm not an economist, but I think that's a very good point. I'd like to know what Donald Trump has to say about this.
Yes. Well, he will take on China. He did say that, so I'm sure he'll be commenting on it.
Actually,
Noah?
he did comment on it. He said China's trying to bleed us to death.
Oh.
Right. Well, they are selling dollars. They're beginning to
Okay.
put dollars
No.
back in the market.
Okay, very good. A video of Bill Gates drinking a glass of water has been making the rounds online recently, but before you change the channel out of sheer boredom, you should know more about the water he was drinking. The water came from sewage. The video was made to promote the Omni Processor, a low-cost waste treatment plant that uses steam power plant, an incinerator, and water infiltration system in one machine that can convert 14 tons of sewage into drinkable water and electricity every day. We're not even going to ask the question, would you drink it? Of course you wouldn't. Okay, let's hear from something else tonight. We have exclusive footage of what's going to be at the Clinton compound in Chappaqua. Interesting, that's in New York right now, courtesy of a gentleman named Tim Donovan. Let's check it out.
Alles raus, sonst hab ich jetzt Zack hier, meine Herren. 2 Schluss und ab.
Was ist denn hier los?
Packen, abhauen.
Aha.
Clausewitz ist ausgegeben. Alle Ministerien und alle Wehrmachtsführungsämter rücken ab aus Berlin.
Und wer organisiert die Verpflegung der Bevölkerung? Und der Soldaten, wenn alle weg sind?
Fragen Sie mich was Leichteres, Professor.
Aber das ist doch Wahnsinn.
We went through a thorough process to identify all of my work-related emails and deliver them to the State Department. I chose not to keep my private, personal emails. Emails about planning Chelsea's wedding, as well as yoga routines.
Der Herr Professor. kann nicht zulassen, dass meine Verwaltung evakuiert wird.
So, Sie können das nicht zulassen.
Die Lebensmittelversorgung von Berlin wird zusammenbrechen.
Ein guter Soldat findet immer seine Verpflegung.
Ja. Und wenn in der Stadt gekämpft wird, wem nimmt der Soldat die Verpflegung dann weg? Doch wohl der Zivilbevölkerung. Ich werde das nicht verantworten.
Das ist ein Führerbefehl.
Als Amtschef bin ich der SS und Himmler unterstellt. Aber als Arzt bin ich Angehöriger der Wehrmacht. Und die marschiert noch nicht ab. Ich bitte, dies zu beachten.
Der Professor kann in Berlin bleiben. Die entsprechenden Vollmachten sind sofort auszustellen. So, Sie können das nicht zulassen. Aufsitzen!
And that apparently went viral today on the internet, so thought we'd share it with you as well. All right, well, that's all for tonight. I'm Joe Concha on behalf of Rick Unger and the rest of the panel. I want to thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Steve Malzberg.